Question number 46 on the reading portion of College Board's Test 4. Where does the author indicate the medieval volcanic eruption most probably was located? So where was this volcanic eruption and where did it occur? Well, if we just remember quickly from the piece, they think that it happened in Indonesia's Samalis. They think that, furthermore, the reason why that backs it up, because in equatorial, Miller says here in line 63, an equatorial eruption is more consistent with the apparent climate impacts. Why? Because they found sulfate in both polar ice caps. There's a strong consensus that there was an equatorial source, line 67. Finally, they bring up the idea that it could have happened in Ecuador, because that's also on the equator. However, when a team of scientists examined the glass from the volcano, they found it didn't match the glass that was found in the core samples in the Arctic. So it's not going to be in Ecuador. It's going to be strongly believed to be in Indonesia, Samalis. So this is a quote question, so we have to answer these together. However, we can take a stab at 46 by itself. Where does the author indicate? Near the equator in Indonesia. Yes, because we think that it happened in Indonesia, Samalis, and they say it happened in equatorial eruption. Strong consensus, there was an equatorial support, line 67. That's probably going to be the answer. In the Arctic region? No. Even though there was stuff found in the Arctic, even though they drilled and found core ice samples in the Arctic that are preserved in time, right, because it's ice, there's no eruption in the Arctic. Because just like they say that it happened, even though they did find ice samples, they said that they found sulfates appearing line 65 in both polar ice caps, in the Arctic and Antarctic. So look at, if we have B and C in the Arctic or Antarctic, neither one can be right because they're both wrong. What about D, near the equator in Ecuador? It's not near the equator in Ecuador. It is near the equator, but it's not in Ecuador. They bring up the idea, maybe it was Ecuador, but then they refute it, they shoot it down. The glass doesn't match, so it can't be. So the answer seems pretty obvious, is going to be A for 46. Let's find a quote that backs that up. Question number 47 on the reading portion of College Board's Test 4. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? The previous question was asking where the author thinks the volcanic eruption occurred. We think that it's going to be near the equator in Indonesia based on the fact that he says, they bring up that it happened in Samalis in Indonesia. They say that it happened, line 66, or 63 rather, that there was an equatorial eruption, that equidistant sulfate distribution occurs in the Arctic and Antarctic, which leads us to believe there's a strong consensus for equatorial source. And it can't be in Ecuador because the glass from Ecuador's volcano doesn't match that found in the core samples from the Arctic. So we think it's A for 46. Let's read the quotes and figure out where they say that. 1 to 3. About 750 years ago, a powerful volcano erupted somewhere on Earth, kicking off a centuries-long cold snap known as the Little Ice Age. No, that doesn't say where anything is. They just say it erupted, and it started an ice age. 26-28, does this talk about where does the author indicate this happened? Such a sudden onset pointed to a huge volcanic eruption injecting sulfur into the stratosphere and starting the cooling. Once again, it doesn't tell us where. Where does the author indicate this happened? What about C, 49-54? The volume of ash deposited and the estimated height of the eruption plume put the eruption's magnitude at a minimum of 7 on the volcanic explosivity index. Once again, where does the author indicate this happened? They're not talking about it in that quote. Even though they might be referencing Javanese Samalis, or rather Samalis, it doesn't say, it's just saying the description, a physical description of the eruption, not the location of where the eruption occurred. What about D, 61-64? Does this say where the eruption happened? It's not a total surprise that an Indonesian volcano might be the source of the eruption. An equatorial eruption is more consistent with the apparent climate impacts. So where does he think the eruption occurred? In Indonesia on the equator. Near the equator, Indonesia for 46. So the answer 46A, 47D.